Welcome to the Standout Women podcast. I'm your host, Michelle B. Griffin, and founder of Standout Women Media. As an author, speaker, and certified personal brand and PR strategist, I'm here to empower and elevate women just like you to get visible, build your personal brand, and own your lane as a visible brand authority and thought leader in your space. I'm super excited you're here. Now let's get going with today's show. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Standout Women Show. I'm your host, Michelle B. Griffin. Today, we're spotlighting another standout woman. This is the series where I highlight past clients or future clients or women that are just doing some remarkable things, and we're really getting nitty-gritty and learning about their process so that you too can get out there and get visible. Today, we're going to hone in on the topic of how to really find that lane, own that lane, and what are some of the things you can do. And my guest today, Tanya Windman, is going to share her journey and all the things that she's doing for women, because she works now with women in some areas of her business. So she has so many nuggets to share. So I want to officially welcome to the show, Tanya Windman. Welcome.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited to be here and chat with you today.
So for those who have not met you yet, please tell us a little bit more about you and your story, and then we're going to get into all the things about how to be a scientist to figure out where you want to go and grow.
I've been in and out of the corporate world for many years and had my own consultancy as well. And I came to you on the back of leaving another creative agency and really wanting to start my own thing, having worked with women in the past to help them grow their businesses and really understand what's below the surface on the inside and how to really tell a personal story around that. I came to you with sort of like a nugget, the essence of something that I wanted to create. And I've really learned, as you were saying, being a scientist, I've really learned that a big part of starting something new is, being able to create a framework that you can test things out in.
I love that analogy. I do that with my clients. I'm always refining and trying to get clarity and just really get that aha. What is it that I want to do? And the most unique thing, and nothing happens overnight. They say Einstein took 10,000 tries to get the light bulb. All great works don't happen overnight. They just don't, right? So you have to get out there. That's the thing. But you do have to have some container or something to go on. And so the scientist analogy is perfect, because when I work with clients, we work together. We did those assessments and we uncovered, like a scientist would, or an archaeologist or sociologist, or all the things. I know you have a background in sociology too, so that really lights you up. Seeing all the things and the cross references to tell your story. We found some really good themes. And also, like an archaeologist on digging stuff, you have this beautiful personal evolution framework that you had sketched out too. So tell us a little bit about that stuff that we uncovered.
I had put together like a few years ago when I was doing the work with women and helping them launch their companies or take it to the next level. I just had this idea around the need to create a process that really works for you, having come from corporate and sort of adapting to the process that exists there, that not everybody has the same process. And so alignment to the how is really, really important. That's what I came to you, was this overall concept and idea around personal evolution.
Some of the themes that came out, because we play the scientist role and we research and all the things, you and I really bonded over an intense love of nature. And we got deeper because I also uncovered, wow, you worked in brand and some of these big companies in New York, LA, San Francisco. Like, you've got some really amazing professional experience and then personal beliefs. And we really honed on this creativity thing. And then you started telling me, uncovering, you had this community, and then you worked on the side with all these clients. And so you were just buttering out all like 5 case studies. Remember all these? You're like, I did this and this and this. And it's like, Tanya, you've done so much. Tell us when you and honed in on some of the big overlying pillars to take out there.
Through our work together, I was able to take what was more of an intuitive process in the past and put it into a framework that I would be able to really speak to and share on a different level. That framework was the creative process, which in this way of working is 3 steps, which is clarity, fulfillment, and success. and really taking a look at what each of those stages, both internally and externally, when you're creating
frameworks and context and some containers, so that when you are bringing a concept that's maybe kind of novel, it's like, how do you spin your take on it with something, a container that people can put around it, right? Because you also had the case study of helping your mom, who was a former CEO in Silicon Valley. And so you really wanted to help women leaders and then the creative leaders and founders. So we had to kind of find a way to bridge helping those two women with this process. Then we did all these things. But then as you got out there, and this is what I tell every single client, especially, ones that are emerging, you have so many ideas, and I breed ideas daily like weeds out there. It's just like, I know when you have so many ideas, but you got to have one golden thread. So we really had to hone in on one kind of succinct thing to get out there. But what I tell every single client on the emerging side, we've got to get some kind of container that lights you up, makes sense, because what's going to happen? The minute you get out there, that's where the answers come. So you can't go out blindly. You got to have something that you feel good about, this professional story. We worked really hard. We got all this stuff. But then you got out there and you realized what the market told you and what your heart told you. So tell us a little bit about that journey, because that is so beautiful and happens to all of us.
Absolutely. And I think I can also walk it through in terms of that creative process of clarity, fulfillment, and success, because our work together was really focused around clarity. How do you navigate that process of maybe being unclear in certain areas? And then fulfillment really comes from taking action and actually putting it out there. At least myself on my own journey, you can get stuck in the vision for so long and just making it perfect. And what I really learned was it's really about testing it as quickly as possible and just seeing what the reaction is. There's a lot of different aspects of that. It could be maybe the wrong community. And so you need to try out different target audiences, or it could be the offering or the messaging. So being able to tweak each of those things and just enjoy the creative process has been really, really helpful. And through that's where I realized that, yes, I'm working with women right now to help them find freedom in their lives through connecting with their own creative process through different transitions in business and in personal life. But I also needed some space, which I opened up into a creative studio, which is called Windy & Co. And that allows me to work with heart-centered brands and bring them through a strategic process that also includes this toolkit that we worked on together called Inside Out, which brings together design and mindfulness tools. So it's focused on, individuals, teams, and then also the strategic initiatives for a brand. And it allows me to just test everything out that way. So that's how everything started to expand. I've started to also hone in a little bit more on who's the right audience, who is this going to support the most. And I think that's also shifted quite a bit as well after I had the opportunity to speak to a lot of different women.
That Inside Out Toolkit journal, it's looked at a lot of different things, but the core thing, that was our bridge. That helps you work with women. You have a decade plus of working with big brands, so you didn't want to give that up. And it's going to get even more clear. But I can remember some of our Voxer sessions. You'd flow one day and then you're so much like me. You get caught in the weeds, overthinking, and go, no, just get out there. And it's a process. You have to go through. And I'd even say, you're going through this and you're going to get it. And that's exactly what happens. That's with any creative pursuit. Do you think anybody who does anything, it just pops out like that? No, any creative thing, like writing a book or creating software, nothing happens overnight. The most incredible creative things, the most useful things in the world have to go through iterations. And that's the same for us when we are starting something new. And because you're one of what I help, two different types of women, the emerging entrepreneur and then the established and scaling. And they have two different pain points, but they all want to get out there and get that clear brand story and narrative. It's been 2 months since we worked together and you've come so far. But it's interesting fact that for my emerging entrepreneurs, every time when we're in the mix of it, they all get clients who are still working together. I think you had that one client, and then you've been successful in our recent catch up that you've had clients right now. So you are attracting clients and working with clients. What is that telling you? Is that giving you more feedback in the midst of working with them one-on-one?
Definitely. I'm seeing where there's similarities and I'm seeing where there's differences. That's the beauty of being able to integrate the framework that we created with the natural intuition and just be able to customize it to each individual. And there is so much to learn from working one-on-one with people. And there's a lot to learn to facilitate groups, which I'm excited to do.
You have to test it all out. And that's the thing. And I did that too in my first couple years of business because you don't know unless you test it out and you'll see, oh, I really like this. This lights me up. This is flow. This is friction. You got to go through it. When I left my job in corporate and started new, it was a new concept. It's a whole new thing. No one trained you. You have to go through it to really understand it. But for all my clients and myself, I always say you can do a lot of things, but also it has to light you up. It has to absolutely be sustainable. Have you found so far that you're realizing that's not so much of a flow state for me?
Inspiration is something that I've always been really curious about. And I realized recently a lot of things light me up, but inspiration really also is more of an internal process. If you're connected with your heart, it's easy to be inspired by external things. I met with a lot of like tech founders and people in that space at a health conference in Amsterdam recently. And privilege of sitting with them and talking through different challenges and pain points and things like that. And it definitely shed some light on like whether or not it was like the right alignment. So it's really interesting to have different types of conversations and see who is this work going to really benefit.
We did hone in that the creative pursuits and working with creative founders seems to speak to you. And a lot of those were creative type businesses and founders. And it's cool because you can bring your brand and marketing expertise, plus that other mindfulness. So you have a beautiful mashup, if you will, of all this. But it's good to hear that the one commonality, the framework, which I always have my clients do, if we need a point of view and some kind of way to make that message take action with this point of view, and that has worked so well for you. Continuing this theme of those emerging from corporate, how do I really make sense of all my ideas and find my true path? You told me something so beautiful on our Voxer catch up the other day. You coined it a sandbox method. And I thought that was so brilliant. So can you detail what that is and help others understand how they may be able to do something like this as well?
Absolutely. You're so brilliant at picking up those types of nuggets. Like I was just kind of leaving you a voice note and then you pulled that phrase out. I was talking to my boyfriend one night and he reflected back to me the need for larger space. And he actually is the one who came up with the creative sandbox. That's what I have done in creating these two different businesses that are connected. There's a golden thread that allows for more of that.
And it gives you permission. So you're just telling yourself, I'm doing a creative sandbox. So tell us what that has been for you.
So a creative sandbox, it's really just like organize what's going on in your life. How can you organize and cut down, just make things lighter in a way, almost like Marie Kondo, like cleaning kind of situation. And then it's like, okay, what's going to be the best environment for you to create in? What's going to be the best environment for you to achieve your internal and external goals? That's what this creative sandbox has been for me. I think a big part of the creative process is obviously creating the creative sandbox and have the right space and environment for you to be operating at your highest level, but also to a creative outlet, something that you get to show up to that's not connected with your work necessarily, that you can just build on. And that's part of a personal evolution as well, is that practice with whatever that is.
I think the creativity is, like the problem you solve. Now, how you do it for different groups, as we close out our session together, when you're just emerging from corporate and you're trying to find that one true lane, like owning your lane that you really know, sometimes it's not an automatic. You have to go through the process, which you have just talked about so beautifully in our work together. But those guardrails, remember how I kept saying, these are your guardrails, these are your guardrails. So you have something to go out in there. And then as you say, with the term creative sandboxing, which I love, is so cool, you feel better. Tell us about the journey. Remember when we first talked, our discovery call, you were like, I have so many ideas. Tell us how you were from there to how you feel today.
In the beginning, it was like a voice inside, basically. Like, this is the direction that you need to do. This is where I want to focus next. I knew that I needed to move forward. I was ready to take action and I knew I wanted to work with you because I love your work and I just had a really great feeling about you. Through the process, I was able to get a lot more clarity and find comfort with not being 100% clear while going out into the world. Through the time that we spent together, really building that process so that I could go out and I could land where I am now and still just understand that everything needs to be adaptable and it's going to constantly shift and it's going to constantly change, just like the world around us. And so how can you build something, whether it's for your personal life or for business, that's going to move with life in that way? That's been the biggest transformation, is my own relationship to my process and my creativity.
I want to reiterate, we're testing, but you're getting clients, you're talking to people are coming to you. So it's not like you're just twiddling your thumbs and testing. Things are happening. So that's a good thing. I wanted to stress when we get out there and test, sometimes it's not like you're in a barren desert. Things are growing. For those listening today and there's a lot of them, that are leaving corporate or want to leave corporate. I was that too. My whole backstory is I was stuck for 5 years. And it wasn't until like 2 or 3 years into it did I start putting myself out there. I did meetups and I started speaking, but I got clarity fast by getting out there. And that's exactly what you did. And now you took a little bit different approach. You said, I'm going on my own. And then we tested from there. So what is your suggestion? Actually, you know what? I take that back, because during COVID and while you were working, when you're doing that work with all those other case studies, those were side things you were still doing at the time. So I think you have some side things. If you're in corporate and you want to maybe get out, maybe trying to just test the waters a little bit.
I think it allows you to do things in a more authentic way. Also adjusting expectations, because you think that you're not making progress, but you're making so much progress. There's many great things happening, and you have to reframe and look at the things that are shifting and happening and moving you in a certain direction. Sometimes there's an attachment to it looking a certain way. And then you realize that, wow, this is actually very successful.
I wanted to acknowledge you are so right. You have done a lot. You've accomplished a lot in this sandbox scientist mode. You're still in this journey. And that's why I call it Own Your Lane. It's a journey, right? It's a beautiful process to find your true purpose and why you are here and what you are meant to do and what you love to do and what people need you to help them with. And we all have it. And it's just a matter of getting out there. And that's the one thing I learned stuck for those 5 years is you've got to get out there. Action breeds clarity, accomplishment, and all the answers. The answers are inside. You just got to get out there and meet the world with them. So this has been a tremendous recap. For those who'd love to know a little bit more, where should we connect with you?
You can connect with me through my website, windyandco.co.
Are you active on LinkedIn or Instagram now, or what's your touch points there?
LinkedIn and Instagram.
What would you suggest for listeners, those women who are ready to step out, do that thing that they're ready for? What's your best advice for them after what you've been through?
Just do it.
In the words of Nike, just do it. The smile on your face says it all. Like, not that you were unhappy when we first started, but it's a beautiful journey. That's the process you have to go through. The pain of staying stuck is way worse than getting out there. It wasn't painful. Learned a lot about yourself, didn't you?
100%. I think that there's always moments of feeling stuck, and I felt stuck in my life a lot as well. When I said just do it, I meant like just look at where you're stuck and just go through it. The avoidance, facing that stuckness that keeps you where you are.
Let's face it, body and business, emerging, established, scaling, growing, we all get stuck. That's part of life. We just got to work through it. Tanya, thank you again for coming on and sharing your story. Best of luck for everything. You're going to have to report back to us at a future time and let us know how everything is going. All right, everybody. That is another Standout Women Spotlight series. Until next time, I want to encourage you to keep putting yourself out there. You have a brand to build, a message to share, and people to impact. I'll catch you next time. Take care. That's all for today. In the meantime, are you ready to grow your visibility, personal brand, and thought leadership? Then head on over to michellebgriffin.com for free resources to get started and get going today. And until next time, thanks for listening.